Welcome. I'm Stephen Philip Katz. I'm a marriage and family therapist here in Hawaii. And do we have a treat for you today? We have Greg McDonald, a professor of psychology at the University of Hawaii, Kapiolani campus, and a psychologist and a musician. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
So, you were talking just a minute ago before we popped on the air here that there's similarities in the music and the psychology.
Right. It was a funny thing because when I was a young kid, like young kids always have dreams of being a basketball star or football star, whatever the dreams are. Mine was to be a rock and roll star.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, that's where the girls are.
That's exactly right. In fact, I said to my first band, I said, the only reason I'm here is for the girls.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it never worked out that way. But, so I played drums, and I just loved playing drums, and I did that for a long time in Los Angeles professionally. And finally hit a point where I was working every night and driving a truck by day. Now, when you're like in your 20s, you know, it's endless energy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from 7 to 7 driving a truck, and from 9 to 2 in the morning playing drums.
Wow.
And this was in the early 70s. And so I finally hit a point one night where, first of all, I wasn't making it in rock and roll. I wanted to be rock and roll. I was just playing any band. So I could get a lot of country and western gigs because there's a lot of country and western bands around. But country and western drums only have 2 beats. It's this, boom chit, boom chit, fast or slow. You know, that's the joke, right? It's not very complicated. But I could make pretty good money at it. But one night, there was a guy in the bar that was out in the valley, and he was drunk. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. He's a cowboy. He took his shirt off, and he painted a dart target on his chest. And he had all the women throwing darts, real darts, at him, and they were sticking here, and blood was coming down. And he was about ready to pull out his gun and go yeehaw and shoot the ceiling. And is epiphany the right word? I had an insight at that point that this isn't for me. I'd been there about 3 years trying to break in, got close a couple of times, did auditions for the Frank Zappa band, if you remember Frank Zappa, and the Jackson 5. I was supposed to do an audition for them, but didn't. And but you could always feel that you were on the brink of maybe getting somewhere. And but I decided this wasn't for me. And I thought I was going to end up being 50 years old, shooting heroin in a dark alley at some divey place. Right. So I left. And I'm from Santa Barbara originally, which is 100 miles north of LA. So it was easy to get to LA. I decided I needed more of a geographical cure. So I moved to San Francisco. Okay. And thought, okay, I'm out of music. And I met a girlfriend in LA, and she was moving. She was only in LA for the summer, so she moved up to San Francisco, and I moved up with her. She was in school, and she was studying psychology. And I loved being with her because we had a hot romance, okay? And I didn't want to lose that, so I figured the best way is to hang with her. How do you hang with somebody that's studying psychology? Study psychology. So this is where I came up with the idea of a funny thing happened to me on the way to becoming a psychotherapist, is I never wanted to be a psychotherapist. I didn't start out in life going, I want to study psychology and the brain and mental illness and schizophrenia and all these exciting kind of things. I didn't care about that. I just cared about her.
That's what all the therapists say. So tell me about your family.
Oh, I thought you'd tell me about my mother.
Same.
Are you serious? I don't think you're serious. But I will if you want. I don't care.
No, well, I went to Santa Barbara
a
while ago, and it struck me. I know they have the poor side of town, but there's a lot of posh in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Did you grow up on the posh side?
Not really. I grew up more in the foothills, which was, I guess, middle class.
I see. What did your daddy do?
My folks were both school teachers. My father taught junior high school. He taught English for students that nobody else wanted.
Ah,
He was very good with the kids that were kind of
difficult
rebellious.
kids.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do
yeah.
they call them? I don't know.
I know there's some probably
Challenged or something
politically
like that.
sensitive
Right,
name for
right,
them
right.
now.
Right.
Then they were just
At risk. I think that's what they
yeah,
say.
that's so nice, isn't it? Back then, I think they were just rejects. Okay.
Right. The football team.
Yeah. So he taught them, but he also taught physical education
Ah.
because that was his training in college, PE.
Oh.
Because he was an Olympic runner. He was supposed to go to the 1936 Olympics as
Which-
a long distance runner. Germany.
Jesse Owens went instead?
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know. But he pulled a hamstring 2 weeks
Oh.
before, so his dream went down the drain.
Oh, wow.
I always felt like he wanted me to be the runner that he wasn't, but
Ah.
I couldn't run at all. Sports is not my thing.
Wow.
I don't even know the name of. If you were to throw out a name of a basketball or football team and tell me what town they're from, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Which made it really hard when I was dating because the fathers always wanted to talk about football,
Right,
and I'd go.
right.
Well, I don't know that, but do you know who the brothers four were with the big bands in the 1940s? And they'd look at me like, this kid and my daughter, I don't know. So anyway, back to the psychotherapist thing. I did get into a genuine interested in
Uh-huh.
psychology from taking the courses with her. and
The girl thing fell
it
apart,
fell
but the
apart.
psychology stayed.
Yeah, most of them fell apart.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, and then I just continued on.
Uh-huh.
And
Where did you go to school?
well, I started out in Santa Barbara City College, but that's before I knew what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
So I basically was in and out, didn't do too well. Then I went to LA to become a rock star. That didn't work out.
Oh, I see.
Then I met her, and I went to Mill Valley Community College, and
Uh-huh.
then I went to San Francisco State University, where I
Uh-huh.
graduated with my bachelor's
Uh-huh.
in psych. And then I went to John F. Kennedy University, which was just behind Berkeley, over the hills behind Berkeley. It was a small private school just starting up,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fairly easy to get into because they were just starting up.
Yeah.
It was hard to get in any kind of counseling or social work schools back then. For example, Berkeley, who I also applied to
Mm-hmm.
in their MSW program, had 4 openings and something like 2,500 applications. So I figured, oh, that's no good. Anyway, long story short, I got into John F. Kennedy University, and what they were, I really owe a debt to them. Every time they send me, you're an alumni, don't you want to make a donation? I don't, and I feel so guilty because if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now. It was a far better experience than I think anybody could have, and I learned something about myself. First of all, as a brand new school, it wasn't accredited. But in order to make the school go, and they couldn't afford full-time faculty, so what they did is they hired professionals in the field.
Oh, wow.
So these professionals were like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I mean, there's
Seriously?
a lot of people in the Bay
Wow.
Area that are famous
Right,
therapists.
right.
Whoever the Mr. Existentialism was,
Uh-huh.
he's dead now. I can't remember some of the names, but anyway, they had the cream of the crop, teaching, and I thought to myself, well, I would rather be taught by the cream of the crop and not have an accredited degree, and then just call myself a life coach.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and have the training
Yeah.
that I would break my back to get in somewhere that's just got a lot of academicians who are dry and maybe don't care that much.
So it was great training.
It was great training. They hired me back to be a professor there, a graduate
Oh.
school, and a core faculty member.
Ha.
Yeah, so I was really happy about that. Now they're really thriving.
Uh-huh. I assume they got their accreditation at some
Oh yeah,
point.
while I was there, they got it.
Uh-huh.
But
What did you like about it?
other than the professionalism,
Yeah, Ben, what makes a good, well, you're a teacher now.
yes, I am.
So what makes a good teacher?
Well, I think a good teacher is passionate about the subject they teach. They're still in love with it. It still
Yeah.
excites them.
Yeah.
And the risk of being a teacher, I've been teaching now since 1980 something, 81. I'm afraid to count the years. That's more than 30, I think. But anyway, I think what makes a good teacher is you still have to love the subject.
That's it.
I think as teachers you can meander into just memorizing your subject and get up and be somewhat robotic.
Right.
And do well, no complaints, good,
Right.
good average. But to really be good, I think you have to love it. You know, like you would a hobby. Like if you liked going
Like you
surfing.
would playing music.
Yeah, playing music. Yeah.
And yeah, you were saying before that there's another parallel in the, first of all, you see it teaching as a performance.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. I did say that, didn't I?
You love to perform.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, I love hearing back the things that I say because I don't know what they sound like when they're said to me.
That's my trick as a therapist.
I see.
just repeat
How
what
much
they
do I
say,
owe you?
and they think I'm brilliant.
Damn.
But yeah, but there is something very nice about hearing your words back.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Maybe it proves that the other person was listening.
Well, there is something nice about hearing your words back.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah, I thought you would.
That was profound what you just said.
I had a good teacher.
And you also mentioned that just as in music,
mhm.
you improvise.
Yeah.
And in teaching, you do the same.
Yes. Yeah, I guess because I came from a musical career first into the academic career, that one of the joys of playing music isn't just learning the song and playing the song well, but goofing around with it, you
Right.
know, changing little things around.
Making it your own.
Making it your own, that's
Yeah.
right, a little riff here, or maybe a solo section where you don't know, the thing about improvisation, I used to call it soloing, but soloing could be just playing the melody by yourself.
Right.
Improvisation means you're playing something that's never been played there before.
And you don't even know what you're playing next.
And you don't know what you're playing, and you just hope it sounds good. There's a thrill about that I think the best way to explain is, because I used to surf a lot, I don't so much anymore because I threw my back out, but in surfing, it's kind of like you never, no wave is ever quite the same, right? So there's a lot of improv involved in surfing.
Just to stay up, right?
Just to stay up and catch what, this is happening, now that person's coming, da-da-da. You know, you're like always on the edge. Your alert level is very high and you're in a Zen moment, I think.
Right.
And I really mean that because the brain is pretty much not thinking about all the stuff that our brains think about when we're idle, right? It's thinking about not...
The monkey mind stuff.
I like that, the monkey mind stuff. I'm going to use that. So anyway, to me, I liken it to surfing or some kind of athletic activity where, where you're not exactly sure what's going to happen. You know the moves, but you don't know how it's going to happen. So improvisation for me musically is like that. Now, when I started teaching, I realized that teaching could be really innovative and improvisational. But of course, first you have to learn the structure. You have to know what it is you're supposed to teach, and you have to know really well. But once you know it really well, you can kind of see little holes and spaces where you can throw in a joke, or you can throw in an example, or you can run a little popular video like, say, Walking Dead, or something like that, and then pull it into what might otherwise be just a straight, dry lecture. So I see teaching as, it keeps me happy when I can improvise.
Yeah, and I'm sure it keeps the students happy.
I think it
because
does.
Your attitude, they can feel it.
They can feel it, and they can feel sometimes when I'm walking on the edge. They really like that, because I'll sometimes walk the edge of political correctness, which is a whole nother subject, but nowadays political correctness is crippling people, in my opinion. But it's fun to walk the edge, because the students wonder if you're going to fall over that edge or not.
Right, right.
And then you wonder too, so you kind of like pull back a little bit. But, when you improvise, you're not quite sure where it's going to go. So you might see yourself walking to a dangerous area, and I got to get out of this,
It's similar, I think. Teaching the psychology classes, it sounds a little similar to being a therapist. And there's always that question of how much of yourself to reveal.
Okay.
Do you find that teaching, or is it you don't have to, you just let it all out?
Yeah, I think I let it all out. Yeah, because when you said that, you probably saw a look on my face because you're sensitive, that I kind of had a blank look. And I think I'm always at the fountainhead of who I am.
We're going to come right back. Don't touch your mouse.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on Think Tech Hawaii. I hope that you will tune in and watch the show. It is inspiring and uplifting and educational also. We talk with artists of all different ilk. We talk with them about what they do, how they do it, and most importantly, most dear to my heart, why they do it. And it never ceases to be fascinating when you get the answer to that question. I hope you'll join us on Center Stage, 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoons. Aloha.
Aloha, how you doing? Welcome to Hibachi Talk. Gordo the Texar here. We're here every Friday from 1 o'clock till about 1:45, and we talk tech with many, many great guests. I got Andrew, the security guy who helps me co-host, and I got Papi Chulo who comes in once in a while to help us through the show. So please come join Hibachi Talk every Friday. Angus will be here too. So remember, like we say at the end of every show, how you doing?
We're back
Wow.
with Greg McDonald. Here we are. What were we talking about? Do you remember?
I don't know. He's not back yet.
Who? Greg?
Yeah, we were talking about improvisation and music
Oh,
in school.
yeah, and I said revealing yourself, and
Yeah.
you just said, no, you always reveal your whole self all the
I
time.
think so, because I don't have any feeling of holding. Well, if I'm feeling threatened, then I probably am very cautious.
I mean, like when you said the whole thing about political correctness, my mind went immediately to the election, right? And that is
Oh, no.
such a hot topic right now,
Yeah.
and it comes up everywhere.
Yeah.
The problem is that it takes over. So I
Yeah.
won't go there. As a therapist, I'll leave it out because it just, I don't think that's why the person came in.
You mean
could-
me? Oh, you mean your client?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The client, right.
sorry.
And
Yeah.
in a classroom, if you would go off on a riff about the election,
Yeah.
they don't really need you to do that, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
So there must be some filter.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're sort of back to how spontaneous am I?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's probably a safety filter at some point.
yeah.
Um,
So, all right, so,
plus, I don't want to insult anybody in the audience. Like,
Right.
I had.
just saying that tells me something.
Yeah, I guess I do, but it doesn't feel like I live there. I don't live in the overcautious area. It's just,
Right.
you know.
No, obviously you're a
But I
musician.
had a Muslim woman in the class a couple of years ago.
Mm.
And I was going to frisk her to see if she was wearing a bomb, but I didn't.
Oof.
See, now that's something I shouldn't even say here, right?
I don't know about should, but it might get a response. It depends what you're looking
It
for.
might. It might. That was a joke, folks. No, but I did have a Muslim woman in the class, and because terrorism is so much in the news, and it does fall into psychology in terms of violence and aggression and the unconscious, and there's a lot of things that fold into the subject.
I avoid university campuses because from reading the news, they're the most dangerous places you can
Yeah,
be.
thank you very much. I did have a scary experience once. But I found myself being really cautious because I didn't want her to feel like, she was the only one, right?
Uh-huh.
So I didn't want her to feel like maybe she was being singled out or people were going to look at her or something like that. I wouldn't have said anything insulting. I just didn't want to say anything, I don't mean I wouldn't have said anything insulting. I wouldn't have said anything that would have been too politically incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes it's just a matter of good manners.
Yeah. I did, however, ask her at some point, you get a little bit more rapport maybe halfway through the semester.
Yeah.
I did ask her.
Ask her one-to-one or in front of the class?
No, in front of the class. I think we were discussing social psychology and mass group behavior.
Uh-huh.
And I think I asked her something very open-ended, like, why did you leave Iran? She was Iranian. Why did you leave Iran? Something like that.
Wow.
No, I wasn't accusing anything. I just
No, you're
I could have
curious.
asked that of any student. What
Right.
brought you to Hawaii?
Why'd you leave New York?
Yeah,
Or whatever. Right.
And she was very sweet. I think I could have talked to anything about her, but I wouldn't have done it without that first kind of
Right.
easy question sort of thing.
Well, also, it's a matter of respect.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you come at it with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. The thing that I like to do in the class is is bring in clips, because I'm also a movie buff. That's the third part of my life. I mean, a big movie buff, like a movie addict. Everybody says, how come you don't have Netflix? And I say, because already I watch too much TV and go to too many movies. I would just, I'd be like a heroin addict if you gave me that. So, but I like bringing in things that I think this generation that I'm teaching is probably watching or likes, like maybe Walking Dead or anything that might be popular to them. And I'll bring in a clip, and if I'm talking about something complicated, existentialism, Freud, these things that are kind of convoluted, I'll bring in what I think is a little video clip. I just clip it. I just record it off of TV, and then use iMovie on my Macintosh. It's not a professional clip. It's just and it's fun to do though. And I'll run that, and I'll say, see, this is like what Freud was talking about, or this is like what some other theorist was talking about, and they get it. And I tell them, now I want you to put on your B.F. Skinner hats and glasses.
You're behaviorist.
Yeah, and we're going to watch this old episode of The Twilight Zone, where the Bemis or whoever it was, the guy in the bank that had the thick glasses that all he wanted to do was read. And finally there's a nuclear explosion which doesn't kill him because he was in the bank safe reading. And he opens the door and everything's all demolished. There was no talk about radiation would have gotten him, but that wasn't the point. This was real early. And he wandered around and he stumbled across the library was still there. And all he ever wanted to do was read. And the name of the episode was called Time Enough at Last. And so he sat down to read, and he slipped a little bit. His glasses fell off and broke, so he would never be able to read. Now that's what the Twilight Zone did, right?
Yeah, a little sadomasochism.
Well, Rod Serling pushed the limits back then. He tried to make social comments in ways that would be acceptable without actually commenting on, well, this is the President of the United States and stuff like that. Or this
allegorical stuff.
Exactly. Allegorical, that's the word I've been looking for. Thank you. Wow, you're smart. You look smart too. It must be the goatee. So anyway,
so you
I said to them, what's the deal here? How do you see any Skinner and or cognitive behavioral stuff, which is a spin-off from Skinner, in this? And they had a really hard time with it, right? And what they finally discovered was where you were being misled was that he wanted to read all the time. But what he kept saying in his mind was, I wish I had time to read. And in cognitive behavioral, it's the thoughts that create the reality that you've got to be careful of.
So if you change the thoughts, you change your reality.
Well, what he kept saying was, I wish I had time enough to read. And he got that.
He got the time.
Yes.
But now he couldn't read.
Right. But what he wished for, what the belief was time, not the ability to read with the time. But
you got to be careful what you ask for.
Exactly. That is exactly the point that I went for. And once they got it, they went, wow. I said, see, you can see psychology alive anywhere. Today, when you walk out, you can see it in groups, you can see it in the cafeteria, you can see it in your phone calls and your texting. You can see all the theorists we're studying.
So
I try to keep it alive on a daily basis rather than, okay, we're doing it for an hour and a half and now we're leaving. Now we leave it in the classroom.
So they'll leave wanting to look at things in a different way.
Yeah, because when they come back, I'm going to say, who saw some Freud while you were out walking around? Just in the beginning,
That's why you wear your thing and I wear my thing, I guess.
Yeah. Did Freud really say sometimes a cigar is only a cigar?
He did. I was there. I actually went to his house and study in Vienna. And it was interesting. They have all these little articles about him. And
Really?
They have the couch. And
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta go.
He's got two. There's one in London and one in Vienna, pre-war, post-war.
Did you know that there was a play that I didn't find out about until it was over here locally? It was written by the head of the drama department up at Manoa. And it was basically a dialogue play. So it was pretty cerebral.
Between Freud and somebody?
between Freud and C.S. Lewis.
Oh, I also didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh man, if they run that again, put me on the waiting list. I got to see this argument or this discussion. I got to see where it went, because they're so. I don't want to turn it into a conversation on that. They were just on very different sides of the fence.
Right.
And both at the top of their field. So when you get two guys at the top of the field on two sides of the fence, it's very interesting.
So how do you handle it in class, talking about that discussion? When people bring in religious beliefs, they must.
No.
No, they don't?
No.
None of the students, but God said this or that?
No. No. If anything, I sometimes wonder about that with them. I don't know enough. I should study the millennium generation, because that's who I've got. And by the way, for those of you who keep wondering, what is the millennium generation? It is anybody born in the early 80s to the late 90s. So they would range probably between mid-teens to about mid-30s, roughly. They're really leaning towards socialism and a higher power kind of thing.
The students in your classes?
No, the millennium generation, as far as I can see. Yeah. I don't know. That's just what I see locally, but this is Hawaii.
This is Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Where we went for Bernie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a feeling from the polls we're not representational, depending on where you look at the country.
The interesting thing about socialism, I don't defend socialism, I don't like it, and I'm not planning on voting for Bernie.
Wait a second, I went to school for free back in the 1960s and 70s.
No, you didn't. Somebody paid for it.
Right. What I mean is I didn't have to pay for it.
Okay.
Right?
That's different.
Was that socialism?
That you went to school for free? I don't know
that I
who
didn't
paid
have to
for
pay
it.
for it. That I didn't have to pay for it.
Who paid for it?
The government paid for it.
Oh, no, I don't think so. But I'll tell you, this is what I was going to say. I think our country's been half socialistic for decades.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
come on, what's Social Security? What's Medicare?
Right.
What's welfare? I mean, so
Right.
when people, it's like socialism has this big boogeyman word,
Right.
boogeyman feeling attached to
Right.
it. And that's because in the worst case, it can go to pretty bad stuff.
Stalinism.
Stalinism, control of everything,
Right,
and
right.
But in truth, if you look around, there are lots of various models of socialism and combinations of socialism and other forms of government. So they're
Right.
not all bad.
Right.
Just I don't want to take a chance on Sanders, So yeah, I don't want to take a chance on anybody. Just to stay neutral for now. I don't know. I don't know who
Is
I'm
he
voting
running?
for.
Anybody?
Hey, somebody wrote a column once, "Nobody for president." I wish I'd have clipped that out because I can't figure it out. It says, I'm voting for nobody for president because nothing will get done, and it takes nobody to get nothing done. And it just was one of those play on words,
Yeah.
about how the government, you've seen the government close down for a few months whenever we hit these times when they close the government down. Have you ever noticed it's still running? We still out doing the same stuff? I always wonder about that.
Hold that in mind. We'll be right back
Yeah.
after this message.
Yeah.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, exploring the world we live in, recognizing the changes around us, and looking into the future of our lives together in these islands. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Aloha, my name is Carl Kimpania. I am the host of Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. You can see our show every Wednesday at noon at 12 p.m. on thinktechhawaii.com, as well as visiting YouTube and finding the link for the show there. The show is also aired on OC16. We look forward to seeing you on the show. We have many wonderful guests, including Joan Husted, Corey Rosenlee, where we talk about the very important issues of education for our keiki. We look forward to seeing you there. Mahalo.
Hello, I'm Crystal from Quack Talk. I've got a new show here. You've got to tune in, check out my topics on sensitive, provocative female issues. So Tuesday mornings, 10 o'clock. Don't miss it. It's going to be fun and dangerous.
Welcome back. I'm with Greg McDonald for our final segment. So let's talk a little bit about music because that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. Me too.
Tell me about the thing that you play.
Oh, sure. Yeah. My wife and I both play. It's called the Caribbean steel drum. It's also known as steel pan because the inside of it looks like a pan. And early on, it was called steel piano. It's funny because if you've never heard of, oh, there's a picture of it up there. I see. Interesting.
Oh, cool. Look
Oh,
at
that's
that.
me with a couple of girls there. I'd
you
like to
look
say they're my
great.
daughters, but they're not. Nor were they any. Oh, there's my wife. Wow, somebody did their homework, didn't they? Anyway, one of the difficult things of playing the instrument, and this is aside from getting gigs here, that's another story. One of the difficult things about the instrument is, if you look on the inside, you'll see bumps, kind of like turning a turtle shell upside down. You kind of see little bumps. Okay. Each of those bumps is a bump hammered up from the bottom and is tuned to a note. But because the oil barrel is actually one piece of metal, the tuning is like brain surgery.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, well, I've been to Trinidad. I watched them do it. I've had it explained, and I tried to work on one myself, and I only ruined it. So I have to fly a guy here just to tune one note, and I have to. And he's 3
Really?
years.
So
he's-
after you make one of these things, it doesn't stay like that forever? You
no,
have to
because you're
tune it?
hitting it all the time,
Oh, my goodness.
like a guitar player picking
So
on
there's-
strings.
There's pan tuners?
Yes, and unfortunately, they only tend to be in large metropolitan areas that support lots of steel drum, school bands and all this kind. They have business not only making but tuning, retuning, and all that kind of
Wow.
stuff, right?
So do they have to bang it to tune it?
with a sledgehammer.
Serious?
Yes, but the sledgehammer. Now you know how heavy a sledgehammer is.
Yeah.
A long stick with a big
Yeah,
32 ounces or something like that. What they do is they cut the wooden handle to hand length. So now if you're just doing this, you can actually use a very heavy thing and get a very gentle hit, but it's a strong one. Okay. So and some of the notes are only that big, and other ones
Really?
are about that big. The bigger the note, the lower the pitch. But the difficult thing is,
But there's reverb, right? Because it's all attached.
there is a sustain to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is, most musical instruments go, like a piano keyboard is the easiest thing to talk about. No matter which way you go, the next note is a half step away.
Okay.
Okay, so if C to C sharp. In this instrument, you can't have the next note be C sharp because sound waves, the sound waves are a physical thing. You can measure it by physics, right?
Right.
So a C and a C sharp are going to be fairly close to each other. And if you hit those two notes, if you hit one note, it's going to make the other one sound, and you're going to get very
You're gonna get the
discordant.
vibration
Yeah,
from
but
the
you're
other
going to
one.
get a very ugly sound.
So it has to be far apart
It
from
has
the
to be
other one?
opposite.
Totally opposite.
Totally opposite. So people, when they're strangers to it, and I say, go ahead and mess around, and they're piano players, I know what they're going to do. They're going to start someplace and work their way around, thinking it's going to be A,
Half
B,
a
C,
step
D, E.
ahead, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And I say, no, it's opposite. So it's C, C sharp, D, E, Fi, E, like that. And they go, oh my God. Now, you think that's bad. The one my wife plays, she plays double steel drums because the notes are larger and it goes down to a lower octave. It's like, a little baby ook can only play a certain range, and bass one plays lower, but it's bigger, right? So if you want to get a lower sound, you have to have more than one steel drum. That's her right there playing doubles. You have to get a bigger steel drum to have larger notes. So it's almost like, you've seen two
Bigger
people.
in diameter?
The barrels are the
in
same, but the
deepness,
notes,
depth.
no, the depth only makes it sound more round and less strident, less hitting you, less of an attack, more round sound.
Okay.
Inside her notes are large like that because the larger the note, the lower the sound is going to be. Just
Oh,
like
and
on a
hers is
guitar,
deeper.
a guitar,
Yeah,
a thin
yeah, the
string, thick
string is
string. Yeah,
thicker.
okay, same idea. But at least I play a single steel drum, a tenor. At least mine, I have all my notes right in front of me. Hers are each steel drum contains the other half of the musical scale. So if C is here, C is sharp over here. So she has to go.
It's actually a different drum. Or are they connected?
No, they're not connected. They're separate. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh,
in
so
the
when you
picture.
say a double, it's really two instruments.
Yeah, see how
Yeah,
she's
there's two
playing two. I'm
instruments.
playing a third one.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so hers go lower. The skirt is longer. That makes the pitch lower too. And but the nice thing, each one has a desirable quality. Mine is the voice range, so it tends to carry like the melody. Hers is a slightly lower range, so it tends to carry more of the rhythm and the harmony, arpeggiations and stuff like that. Now we can switch because some songs are written at a lower melody, like a torch ballad or something like that tends to be a little lower and sexier, in which case she plays the melody and I just try to play something that works on top.
Wow.
But there's another picture of us. I sometimes play two of the tenors just to get more volume out of it.
And you were telling me in Trinidad they have like whole bands.
100-piece orchestra. And once a year they have to have an original, the competition, the steel drum competition once a year is on during Mardi Gras time. And the minimum band size is 110 players. Some of those players might be playing as many as 24 steel drums because bass steel drums only have 2 notes on them. And if you want 3-octave range, well, 3 times 12 is 36. So, you know, you've got 16 drums there that you've got to play.
So you got to go running around?
Yes, they do. And they jump up and down. They look like monkeys.
Oh, it's like the Japanese taiko drummers.
Kind of, yeah, but except they jump up on it. Yeah. They actually jump on the lower barrels that they're not using and play the ones that are up high.
Jump on?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean to reach the other ones?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
It must be something.
I think it's the most unique instrument in the world. It is still today considered the most recent completely acoustic instrument in the last 100 years.
Oh, wow.
Now, there have been other acoustic instruments, but they're based on extensions or improvements of pre-existing ones.
Like all the different string instruments.
Yeah. They're based on a previous concept.
Right.
This is the first concept, the most recent concept of a new instrument.
Wow.
And
it started about 100 years ago?
in the late 40s, yeah. And it was
Oh, so
it was
60, 70 years ago.
it was something that the kids. It's an interesting story. I'll try to be brief. The outlaw kids from the wrong side of the tracks who didn't have anything to do
And didn't have any money.
and didn't have any money, but there was bamboo and stuff around. They would cut the bamboo and they would hit oil barrels left by it's an oil producing part of the world down there. They were 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela, which produces.
Right.
And the U.S. Navy was down there, so they would throw away all these oil barrels. They're all over the place. Now, if you've ever hit an empty oil barrel on purpose or by mistake or with a rock, it goes whoa, 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 like that.
Right.
So the kids had a great time just making noise, not playing melody. But what happened was, it's an interesting evolution. What happened was, obviously, if they've been rolling around in the junkyard, some of them have dents.
Right, so they sound different.
That's right, because the dent has stretched the metal, so it's going to have a different sound. So other kids would come in with a hammer and just try to hammer in enough notes to play a simple song.
Wow.
Like, you know, Marianne, all day, all night, Miss Marianne. What, 5 songs, the 5 notes, the whole song. They don't need the whole chromatics. They didn't even know there was a Western scale, right? And then the other ones would keep rhythm. So you'd have maybe 100 guys going, and the others going, na 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 na. You got a happening, right? They're up all night, except you didn't want your daughter hanging with them because they were the ruffians, right? Now, what happened about 10 years later is they got pretty good, the guys at steel drums. They sounded better, you know, they just improved upon them. But they knew that they were not accepted by the upper classes. I love this story. I'd almost rather have talked about this. In order to snub the upper class, they learned classical music by ear. You know,
And played it on the drums?
And played it on the drums to show the upper class
Just that they could.
And once that happened, Pete Seeger happened to be down there. He saw this happen, and he was the first one to talk about and bring the steel drum to the United States.
Okay, I always knew I loved that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
He even wrote a book on how to build one. Now, it's a crude one, but you can still find it in libraries online. It's free.
Pete Seeger.
Yeah. Yeah. So he would have been, you know, eventually somebody's going to find something in a foreign country and bring it out. Right? Well, I guess if you had to say it was him. But after him, I think RCA or one of those companies that was in existence back then started to be interested in world music. So they were going all around the world looking for things. Now, they got involved about the time of the song Rum and Coca, drinking rum and
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Who did that original, do you know?
The Andrews Sisters or somebody like
Oh,
that.
that's right, yeah.
But the Andrews Sisters were sued because they stole it from an original writer down in Trinidad. And that
Oh.
writer actually won the lawsuit. I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
I'm not good at, I can only take my trivia knowledge so far, even though it's a passion.
So was there a like first famous steel drum player?
Yeah, the first famous steel drum player was a guy named Elie Minette, who's still alive, and I have one of his drums just because I figured if you play violin, you probably want a Stradivarius, right?
That's really.
So,
Oh, so he would make his own drums?
he was the first one to actually organize those random notes into a scale that jazz musicians call a circle of fifths. A circle of fifths is, well, I won't explain it. It is a scale, so that means once it's a scale, there's a fixed pattern. You no longer have to play Fred's drum, who's got everything in a different place.
So he sort of laid it out.
He laid it out. So he's kind of considered the father of the modern steel drum. So that had to be an evolution.
Wow.
But in terms of the original guy, I just think it was a whole bunch of different guys beating on them. But he's the one that sort of
And
picked
you
it
have
up.
one of his drums.
I do.
Wow.
It's not my favorite one, but I have it anyway.
So do any of them, you know, for somebody who's learning, do they have like a learning one where each little part is labeled? What note it is?
Yeah, I did that. I had to do that.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. I used to, you know, let me say this.
Do they write sheet music for it?
They do, but you don't really need it. A lot of people want to play this instrument by ear.
Yeah.
And you can learn simple songs, you know. I have, over the years, collected about 20 steel drums of all different ranges, enough to have an ensemble. I have over 100 very high-quality rhythm instruments, including a drum set. And I have talked to every school, private and public, to try to get this in the school system here, and they just, I'm like the devil walking into church saying, hey, do you think I need God? You know,
Wow.
I'm just reject. I can't get past the receptionist who answers the phone. I say, I'm Greg McDonald, I got some rare instruments, I'd like to do a demonstration. Oh, the band leader's busy, he's got a spring concert, he's got a Christmas concert,
Wow.
he's doing final exams. There's a gatekeeping system here that for some reason I don't have the skills of getting through. If
Did you ever
they-
try the Artist in the Schools program? You know about
Yeah,
that?
but I never got anywhere with it. I may do that again.
Do you teach it privately?
Yeah, well, I did, but I stopped because
Uh-huh.
what happened is people need to buy a steel drum, and they're about 2,000 a piece.
Whoa.
And a cheap one is about 600, but it won't give you the sound you want. So you want
Wow.
to spend, if you're lucky, maybe you can get a $1,000 one. So I have taught, but what people realize is they think they can pick up a harmonica and just play it. Any musical instrument takes an awful lot of time and dedication.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like going to graduate school if you're really going to learn it. You have to do it every day, and you have to practice every day. So for a while, I just said, look, what do you want to do? Do you want to learn about the music and scales and how to form things, or you just want to play some happy songs like Yellow Bird? Yellow bird, high up in
You could
my-"
teach them how to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In probably 3 lessons. But
Wow.
so they would maybe say maybe a little bit of both, but they would all give up after about a month.
I used to see them. I grew up in New York City, and I would
lucky you.
see them on the street every once in a while. There
Yeah.
were guys over by Central Park
Yeah,
that would play,
yeah.
and it was fascinating, and it sounded great.
Yeah, it does. As much as I like playing the duo that my wife and I have, when I learned, it was at UC Berkeley, in the School of Music at Berkeley. Not Berkeley School of Music, but UC
Right,
Berkeley's
right,
music
right,
department.
right.
They have a huge Latin ethno music subdivision, and I learned there. And but I had no plans on playing professionally. I just wanted to be part of a group. So for the first year, I did nothing but play with an ensemble, right?
Oh, that's a
So
good
I
way
could
to
play.
learn.
Yeah, it is, because you can play the simpler stuff,
Yeah.
and the more advanced people are playing in front of you, right?
They're telling me we got to wrap
Okay.
it up. So if what's the takeaway?
Go to my website on Steel Drum Music
Uh-huh.
and just listen, because it's great for parties, for weddings, special events, grand openings, grand closings. We've played
They
everywhere.
can get you and Junko to come to wherever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Should I say it, or will they post
Say it.
Okay, it's real easy. It's the 3 W's, right? And it's Steel Drum Music Hawaii. What's the instrument? Steel drum. We play music on it in Hawaii. So it's steeldrummusichawaii.com.
And we're about out of time. Greg McDonald, thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Shrink Wrap Hawaii. See you next time.
It's a great
Bye-bye.
name.